Hey everyone, if you do not have a 401k, that's actually okay. It's not the end of the world. There's still a lot of things you can do to really take control of your financial situation. This topic was suggested to me because yesterday's topic I was doing for the 30 days of November live video challenge was I was talking about what to do with your old 401ks. And I've had a couple people reach out saying, you know what, I actually have not started building for retirement or saving for a 401k. Maybe your employer doesn't offer a 401k. There's a lot of things that you can still do to really take control and move forward financially without having to rely on an employer to provide a 401k. Really, when it comes to an employer 401k, the main benefit there is the fact that most employers, when they do offer 401k, is they give you free money, which is in the form of an employer match. So that's really the only thing you're missing out on. You still have access to other retirement accounts like a Roth IRA or traditional IRA. So that's probably the first thing I want you to just be aware of is you can still save for retirement. You don't need a 401k. That's not the only mechanism to do that. You also have the flexibility where you actually don't have to put it into a retirement account. You can still invest for your future and put it in a non-retirement account. You have a little bit more flexibility there because it's not going to be tied for retirement. There's not going to be rules and restrictions. You're just also not going to get the same tax benefits you would if you opened up a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. So you do have options there that are available for you, even if you don't have a 401k. One of the benefits too, if you want to kind of look at it from a positive light, is when you don't have that employer 401k, usually with a 401ks, they do require that you put money in first in order to get the free money from that employer match. But if you don't have that, then you don't have that kind of strict rule around your cash flow that says, hey, I need to save 5% into my 401k in order to get the match from my employer. So if you don't have that, you could apply that 5% to something else that may make more sense to where you're at financially today. And that could be applying it towards like higher interest credit card debt or just any other debt that you're trying to pay off. That gives you a lot more flexibility when you don't say, hey, before I even receive my paycheck in my checking account, 5% is already going to my 401k, which is a good thing to do. You definitely want to do that if you do have a 401k, but you do have a lot more flexibility when you do not have that kind of hanging over your head like, hey, I could be missing out on this. So think about, is there high interest debt that you're paying on that you want to get knocked out? That could be a good place to put at least 5% of your paycheck, almost as if you're applying it towards a 401k, but you're doing it somewhere else where it's going to have the most bang for its buck. And so putting it towards that high interest debt is some flexibility. You definitely want to take advantage of that. And then also, if you don't have an emergency savings, that's something that you could start building up now. Since you don't have that hanging over your head that you need to do a 401k in order to get the employer match, you can start building up an emergency fund with 5% of your paycheck. So that's really the flexibility that you get when you don't have that requirement to fund a 401ks. You just have more flexibility there. Regardless, though, I do want you to act like you do have something that you want to save for at least 5% of your paycheck, because what happens is if you end up going into a new opportunity and you're going to get about the same amount of pay and they're like, you know what, you now are going to have access to a 401k and it's going to be 5% of your paycheck in order to get 3% or 4%, whatever it is, the free money that they're going to match you. The problem is when people make that change because they weren't used to saving that much of their money on a monthly basis or applying it towards their goals on a monthly basis, they've always been living up to that limit. And so even though that's a great benefit, when you do ultimately end up moving to an employer that offers a 401k, it's too much of a constraint on your cash flow because you're like, holy smokes, how am I going to make up this 5% that I'm now putting towards a 401k that historically I have never had to do? So if you're already saving it, if you're already applying it towards your finances in a positive way, it's not going to matter when you do end up going to that next employer and they do offer a 401k. You can just say, oh, instead of saving on my own for my IRA or my Roth IRA that I'm doing on my own and have complete control over, now I'm just going to start transitioning these funds to go into the 401k. And it's not going to really impact you cash flow wise. It's not going to be a detriment to your lifestyle or anything like that because you've already been doing that 5%, whether or not it's going into a non-retirement account, going to paying down debt faster, going towards an emergency savings. So you do have flexibility. And that's really the best thing that you can take advantage of is just act like you have something or a reason to save that 5 or 10%. And I just mentioned a handful of ways that you can apply those funds. That way in the future, you'll just kind of be leveling up financially. You'll constantly be improving, and you don't have to wait around and put it all on, oh, well, my employer doesn't offer 401k, so I guess I don't have to save for retirement. You definitely don't want to take that mindset. Especially, there's a lot of people that are paid a significant amount of money, but they work for a startup. And so that's one reason why they may not have access to a 401k, or they're not receiving a match on that 401k is the company's just growing so fast, they don't have those types of lucrative benefits at that point in time. And if you're used to spending all $100,000 and not saving for retirement, your lifestyle in retirement is going to be very cramped because Social Security is never going to cover that full lifestyle that you're used to. So you do want to step up and take control of your own retirement plan. And Social Security is not going to do it for most people unless you just want to live right above that poverty line. That's really what Social Security is there for. It's to catch people before they have to go living in the streets and things like that. So don't rely on Social Security as your retirement plan. And even if you don't have a 401k, you can definitely do things to put yourself in a better place financially. And it might take a little bit more work for you because you actually do have to make up or save a little bit more than you would than if you did have that employer match. I actually have a client where he's working for a company that was more of a startup and he wasn't receiving a match. And so we planned like, all right, we can still make this work. We looked at his plan. He's still good to go. And then this next year coming up, they mentioned that, you know what, we actually are going to do an employer match moving forward. And it's actually a pretty significant one. It's going to be 4%. So that's 4% of free money that we weren't planning on at all. And that actually improved his ability to retire sooner, improved the amount that he could actually spend now and not have to save as much because he's getting almost double the contribution. So an employer 401k and that free money is awesome. If you're able to weigh that in when you're looking for job opportunities, you definitely want to factor that in. Even if they're like, you know what, we just don't have 401ks. It's not something that they can just throw in there. It's not something like extra vacation time or bonus money and things like that where they have more flexibility there. 401k, that's usually umbrella for the whole company. It's not something they do only for certain people. And so, but you can use it to your advantage when you're negotiating with a startup or that company is saying, you know what, I still want to factor in as the total compensation. You want to look at the whole picture, not just what the income and salary is, and just say, hey, there's this other company I'm interviewing with, they do a 5% match. So that adds on to that compensation that they're going to give you as well. And so use that for negotiation tactics as well. Just saying, hey, I really want to work here. I know you guys don't have a 401k, but that also means that total compensation package isn't as enticing as it is with this other company who offers the same pay that you're offering me right now, but they actually do get an employer match, which is free money. So you can use that to your benefit as you're negotiating and navigating your career and really squeeze out a few $1,000s of additional income, even with the negotiation, even if it is a company that ultimately is not going to give you a 401k or retirement plan to lean on. So take that to your advantage. And as you move throughout your career, you'll probably have places that will offer it, places that won't. And the bottom line is you don't have to rely on your employer to offer 401k to do what you need to financially to actually be confident in that future and make sure that you're in a position where if you did move into an employer that did offer 401k, you're not going to be stressed out like, holy smokes, now I'm actually going to have to set this aside before it hits my checking account. And how am I going to live with 5% less of my paycheck because I haven't been used to doing things with that 5% normally. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know what additional questions you guys have. I have 19 days left now of these live videos. So let me know what else you want to see. This was one that came up as a topic based on the conversation that I had yesterday, which was, people do have old retirement accounts. What the heck do we do with them? Because they're starting to collect. They have like 4, 5, 3, whatever it is. They start to accumulate pretty rapidly. And so from that conversation yesterday, it spurred this inspiration for this video today on if you don't have a 401k, that's okay. You can figure it out and still make plans for retirement and really be in control of your retirement still. You don't have to rely on that employer. So hopefully that's helpful. Let me know what other questions you want me to tackle over these next few days.